Hello, and
Hey,
I messed up.
no, you
Hello.
didn't mess up. You got to put us in the stream while the intro's playing. It's all
Okay,
good.
okay.
You did
I'm.
fine. You did all that by yourself. I'm so happy.
Oh, thank you.
That's wonderful.
Hello. If y'all don't know who we are, my name is Courtney Webb. I'm the Strange,
And I'm Michael Zinn, and I am the wonderful. And
and we
welcome to the
are
strange and
strange and
wonderful.
wonderful.
Yes, welcome to the live broadcast that we do every week, where we have these amazing conversations with people who most people would consider strange, but we consider wonderful because Courtney came to me with this idea for the show. We've been doing it ever since, and it's just been a home run out of the park every time. The people that we speak to are so authentic and interesting, and I love it. I love it. What about you, Courtney? How you feeling about the show?
I've been feeling great about it. I've been feeling so many new things, especially going to GeekCon and having people like actual big guests wanting your personal email to contact you about being on the show. I'm like, oh, that's I never had that happen before.
There you go.
Yeah,
There you
because
go.
I actually had that happen. I was at GeekCon weekend, and I had a little Valentine's Day cards I was giving out to the guests and people at the con, and I went to Quentin Howell's booth, and I gave him a Valentine's Day card, and I think I was either his daughter or wife that was with him a
Okay.
card too. That was his assistant that day, and I gave him like two little fan art. I gave him as the ice cream man, and
Nice.
another one of him as his little Who character from the How the Grinch Stole Christmas Hoobish, which was the if you don't remember who Hoobish is the mayor's sidekick that the mayor treat his little sidekick as crap throughout the whole film, and you probably noticed it. If
Okay.
not, he's the one in the little yellow suit, and he's like going like you might remember this one scene when the mayor's like going, "Who pudding cook off?" And then at the big background, he's just like, "Pudding cook off." Yeah, that's him.
I got you. Of course, you would know that.
Yeah, I mean, I felt bad for his character because he was just getting treated like crap, and that's what I told him. Like, I felt bad for your character, so I drew me as a who hugging your character,
Shit.
and
So
his wife or daughter laughed, and she's like, "Oh, this is so cute," and he kept the fan art too. He kept it, and I told him about the podcast we were doing, and he's like, "Write down your email. I want to contact you.
that's great.
I might want to be on your show. Write down your email." And I gave him my personal email.
That's great. That's
Yeah,
awesome. So you had a good time at the geek convention.
yeah, GeekCon.
I saw you got your Scooby Doo artwork
Mhm.
autographed. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was supposed to be a gift to Matt Miller, but once I was in line, I was like, "Hey, I got you a gift," and then he's like, "Oh, this is wonderful, I love it." And then he started taking it out of the protective screen, and I was like,
Yeah,
"What are you doing? What are you doing on your gift? Why are you writing your name on it?"
and he signed
You,
it and he gave it back to you.
yeah, that's what he did.
That's
He's
pretty
like, "This,"
cool.
he's like, "Thank you for this gift, but I can't take it. But it's a gift from me to you."
That's pretty cool. That's a cool
But he
gift.
took, but he took my Valentine's Day card, which I'm like, strange, but okay.
That's awesome. That's cool. Awesome. Well, it's good to
Yeah.
see this show turning into something really special, and you, again, just performing magic and reaching out to people that inspire you and getting them on the show to talk to. I love it. I actually started another broadcast with a friend of mine doing tarot, and he's teaching me tarot readings and
Oh,
oracle
that's so
readings
cool.
on Monday, and he's studied under mystics and shaman for 40 years, and so that's awesome. But I think that it's probably going to be time for you to fly a little bit on your own, just because I've got so many commitments going
I
on.
know. I'm like,
But I don't want to leave. I always want to be able to come back and have these conversations. But you'll probably be doing some of the shows on your own, which is good. I feel like that's what this show was meant for. It was meant for you to kind of get out there and fly and talk to people that inspire you and just be Courtney to the world.
well, I didn't have to learn how to do animation intros. Hopefully, that's easy to do.
Uh, and I'll help you learn how to do that. You're going to be able to do those animated intros. So, another week that you've reached out and found us a wonderful guest. Why don't you tell us a little bit about our guest and what made you reach out to her, and we'll bring her on.
Okay, well, the way I discovered this guest, I discovered through my friend, Miss Quinn. We all know the wonderful Miss Quinn, the wonderful clown performer, the adult performer of the clown content. We love her. She's such a sweetheart. And I discovered her through whole content as her friend. And I contacted her and was like, hey, I like your work. It's really cool and nice. And she was in the clown content, she was in the monster content and all that. And I was like, this is interesting and awesome. And she by a comic, like a comic book series called Oak Girl, which is about a slave human girl from our world get transported to a mythical land of, I'm about to say land of awesomeness. No, land of mythical creatures and stuff. And yeah, the land of awesomeness. That's what it's called now. The fantasy world stuff. And then she became like a pet to Oak Lord, and it got a little kind of spacey, if you know what I mean. Probably.
A little bit spicy. Yes, you've been bringing on
Yes,
some of the more spicy guests
yes,
lately,
I've
but
been bringing the
it's all good. I
spicy.
like it. Yeah, that was kind of, my first. I'd obviously heard of clown fetishes and porn and those kinds of things, but it was the first time actually talking to somebody involved with it, and like I said, it was an amazing conversation. Just to
And
find out how authentic these
yeah,
people are,
and the
and like,
and then I'm sorry, and another way. I'm sorry if I interrupt you.
no,
Do you want
it's all
to?
right.
Okay, okay. Another thing that's discovered that she sometimes pops on Miss Quinn's YouTube channel discussing like Bigfoot, Bigfoot and like media, Bigfoot and erotica, Bigfoot and like all sorts of things. And I like this is like her genre. I'm like,
That's funny.
she has a big fascination with Sasquatch. I like this.
That's
So
hysterical.
would you like to continue what you want to say, or do you want to
Yeah,
hear?
no, I did a little research and I looked at the comic book, and I'm just really excited to bring her on. So let's introduce
Introduce
to
it.
the wonderful, strange
Well,
and wonderful world, Amy Mercury.
okay.
Hi,
What's
everybody.
happening? How's it going, Amy?
Oh, it's going great. Thank you for having me on tonight.
Oh, you're welcome. We appreciate you being here and
Well, thank you.
representing the strange and wonderful world that's out there. I think I think a lot of people are really interested by the strange and wonderful, but afraid to admit it. So we're just bringing it out there, and like I said, having these amazing conversations with people like yourself. So welcome. I want to just
Thank
set
you very
myself up
much.
here to share my screen so people can
Great.
know what we're talking about and who you are. And I think the original, I guess, intrigue came from your comic book, which is called Orc Girl.
Ah,
Uh,
yes.
very, very super straightforward, and this is I think a great representation of kind of the dynamic of it. And I think it appealed to Courtney because I know Courtney's got this kind of obsession with um, horror movies and serial killers, like the main characters, and I always thought that was interesting. But doing my research, I see there is this kind of whole orc kind of community, people who are really into orcs, and you're one of them. But this is this is really cool. And tell us a little bit about where this came from. Well, like what brought you to this?
Well, I've always liked orcs. They've been probably my favorite fantasy race since I played one in D&D in college. And I'd been wanting to create a story in the future at some point. I'd been wanting to do this sort of I think in Japanese, like an anime, they call it an isekai. It's a type of genre in which you have someone from the modern world who goes into a different world, like a fantasy world. I've been wanting to play with something like that for a long time. And I remember around this time that I'd come up with this, I'd seen the new Warcraft movie, and I really liked it. And it got me thinking about orcs and how much I enjoyed playing them. And I thought to myself, what if I did this kind of romance? I like monsters. I like orcs. What if I did an orc romance? We don't think of orcs as being particularly romantic
Right.
characters. They're,
Right.
supposed to be sort of violent and angry. But what if I showed this kind of different side to them? Without while still being true to orc lore of them being the kind of violent barbaric. creatures, but give this sort of nuance to them that I hadn't really seen much of at the time when I started it. And originally, it was just some concept art. I, did a couple of drawings and put them out there and said, hey, this is just a little kind of art project I'm working on. I just intended it to maybe be a novel at some point. And then I decided to illustrate a few comic pages just to kind of plan out, like a little bit of storyboarding for myself. And I put them out there for people to look at, and they got so much more attention than anything I'd written in novel format that I thought, well, maybe the better format for this is actually a comic. And so I think about 2017, so about a year or so after I'd started working on the concept art, I started making a comic. And originally I was gonna keep it separate from the Ami Mercury brand. It was gonna be Orc Girl and then Ami Mercury. But then I thought to myself, I already have people that like Ami Mercury. Maybe they want to know a little bit more about Ami. Maybe they want to know more about me and the things I enjoy. And so I started kind of pitching it to fans of my other content, of my more adult work. And it's funny, I never intended for people to start referring to me as the Orc Girl. I never really made that connection. But as soon as I started putting this comic out and talking about orcs, then people just kind of started referring to me as the Orc Girl. And I just, I'm not going to correct them. It works for me just fine. So,
right.
And here I am. I just finished up chapter 5. It's it's a weekly comic. I post usually one page a week or so. And I just wrapped up chapter 5, and I'll be starting on chapter 6 sometime in November.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah, I when I was doing some of my research, I came across orcgirl.com. And I really thought it was cool. I really dug it because it really reminded me of kind of the early days of the internet and the way some artists were taking advantage of the platform. You know what I mean? Here's a platform that everybody has access to, and an artist can really create this relationship where people are kind of looking for and waiting for their artwork. So it's really, I mean, even though I may say, oh, it's like web 1.0, it's not necessarily, it's not like a put down. It's actually a compliment. I think people, are interested in this kind of stuff, and it's almost like the folk art of the internet. You know what I mean? Like,
you're not wrong. And I mean, I guess that was my era of web comics. I remember reading web comics as early as like 2003, 2004, and back then, like, you didn't have big web comic hosting sites like you do now. Everybody just made their own page like this, and my page is kind of simple. I have been planning on a redesign, just haven't quite gotten there yet.
Right.
But and I do post on some of the major sites as well, like Tapas and Webtoon, which they do have really good traffic, and it helps to generate some traffic for me. The only issue is that being on sites like Tapas and Webtoon, they have much harsher restrictions. Like on my site, I can post whatever I want.
Right.
It's mine. I'm not bound by any rules, but Tapas and Webtoon are subject to, if you post your work there, they're kind of weird about adult content. Like, they'll say they allow adult content, but they don't really. And
orc adult content is a no.
Apparently that's too far. Yeah. That's just no, we're not going there, So I do have to edit them rather heavily to even host them on those sites. But, and people are like, why don't you just leave? I'm like, well, I could, but I'm there for the traffic. So that's how it is. It's a double-edged sword.
It gets you exposure and it gets you fans. Great. Awesome. We have Chris Holm. I subbed it on Webtoon.
Thank you.
So you got one of your subscribers here watching. Yay. Welcome to the Strange and Wonderful, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Awesome. So let me just ask you a little bit about the art style. Let's stick with Orc Girl for a while before we get to the Ami Mercury brand and the whole crossover there. But what's the medium? Is this done traditionally or digitally? How do you create this?
When I in fact, that the little graphic that you see at the top, that was probably one of the first drawings I ever did. And back then it was kind of a mixed medium. I would draw things on paper, then I would scan it and ink and color it digitally.
Okay.
But over the past few years, I've actually been able to transition to doing everything in a digital format from start to finish.
Right.
Okay.
I've noticed a lot of artists that I'm friends with, comic book artists in particular, have transitioned over to digital now, that you can actually draw on the tablets, and it's a little bit more, it mimics the style more. It doesn't seem so digital. It still has
Right.
kind of that your hands feel, you know what I mean, whatever your particular style is. So cool. I was just curious about that, because I know Courtney, you do everything traditional, right? Your artwork is all
Yes, I do.
traditional.
I do mostly traditional. I try to do digital, but I can't get the hand at it yet, so I just go the traditional most of the time.
Right.
It takes a little while. Like I said, I started by, I would draw everything on paper and then I would scan it and then ink it to practice. Which, by the way, I want to say I really love the graphic you made for
Thank
me being
you.
on the show tonight. That was so cool. I loved it.
Oh, let me see.
I was like, I gotta combine two things you love: Sasquatch and orcs, and put them in the middle.
Two of my favorite subjects.
I gotta say, I love the attention that Courtney gives to the artwork. It's always got some details in there that are very personal to the guests, and it's I love the attention. So when Courtney asked me to help her put this show together, I was more than happy to, because she's so sweet and awesome, and also I was interested, but I did say, I said, look, this is going to be your show, so she's been in charge of making all of the graphics every week. I do make them into the animation, which I'm going to have to teach her how to do, but good job, Courtney, on all of your graphics all the time.
Thank
They're
you.
all really great. I like them.
Yes.
Sometimes I've had the time question myself, like, oh no, I hadn't got this done yet. Ah!
So
But I get it done though. I get it done.
yeah, you do get it done every week. You get it done, and it's always beautiful. I love it. So Amy, I wanted to ask you, because obviously when I started researching you, I did come across a bunch of more adult oriented content, but there was definitely a big mashup of what you might say is adult oriented content. Some people might not consider it adult oriented content, but I mean, I'm pretty open minded, so I could see if I was a horny orc, you know what I mean, that it would be super appealing to me. And I love the whole idea that there's all of these genres within adult entertainment now. It's really become something very, very very, very particular, if you need it to be. You know what I mean? If that's if that's what you need, then you could find it, which is very cool. So I was aware from our guests before about the clown stuff, but I was not really aware of the orc stuff, and I must say it's really interesting. And I certainly I think if you come at it and you're taking it too seriously, you won't get it. You know what I mean?
Right,
I think you've got to have a little bit of an open mind and a little bit of a sense of humor. But tell me how that all happened. So, well, actually, let me back up a little bit. You said something about keeping the Orc Girl brand separate from the Ami Mercury brand. So tell me, what is the Ami Mercury brand?
Well, Ami Mercury that's all of my adult content, my videos, phone sex, and all the other avenues of my more adult work. And like I said, I was originally going to keep Work Girl completely separate, as to have sort of like an artist subset of what I do. But then I thought, well, why would I do that? I've already got people who like my work. Maybe they'll like this too. Because I just originally thought no one would be interested. I'm like, well, I do porn. They're not going to care about my comic. But I couldn't have been more wrong. People, I think, honestly, like Orc Girl probably helped me more than anything else I've done.
Yeah.
With maybe a few exceptions, it's helped me a lot. I think that it gave something for people to relate to me on a different level. And I think it showed people another side of me that they weren't able to see before.
Right.
And it's been a lot of fun to work on too. And since then, there has been a tremendous overlap of the two things.
Right.
I didn't start doing the orc video content until I did the comic. And one day I just decided, I'd been trying my hand at doing transformation fetish content.
Okay.
I'd learned some of the techniques and how to edit it digitally to get to that point. And I thought to myself, what if I transformed into an orc? I could paint myself green. It'll be fun. And I put it out there. I thought, you know what? This is for me. This is just for my fun. If people like it, great. If they didn't, at least I got to try it. That was a good experiment.
Right.
But people liked it, and I don't know of anybody else who's tried to do orc content. I've looked.
You want to see it, damn it! You
For
want that
research purposes only.
Yeah.
It's like,
Right.
well, that's like me. If I don't see any sort of content that I want, I'd create it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And
Actually,
you know what? That's brilliant. Go ahead. Sorry.
That was I was gonna say it was Miss Quinn who kind of inspired me with that statement. And I said, man, I don't see any orc content. She's like, why don't you make it? I'm like,
Brilliant.
why don't I make it? So
Brilliant. It's so brilliant. It really is. I have a friend who he's a drone pilot, and he was into drones way before they were popular. He had to build his own drones originally before you could like buy them, from DJI. And he had flown his drone in New York City under the Washington Square Park arch. There's like this big famous arch in New York City. He flew under it and posted it online, and it went viral. Fox News played it, and he's like, "Ooh, I want to try to submit this to a film festival." And he could not find any film festivals with even a drone category. So he created the New York City Drone Film Festival, and it became huge. Within years, he was giving away like prizes from DJI worth like $10,000 and sponsored. Like it just became huge, and he created his own lifestyle, and that's what inspires me about our guests and people like you, because just like you said, you have the best orc content out there. Right? I mean, you can say that, right?
Never mind that it's the only orc.
That doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter.
I mean, you might inspire someone out there, like, you know what? If she can do it, I can do it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would be happy with that. I knowing that I kind of created a subgenre would be awesome. If not just because, like, admittedly, I think it's fun and hot, but knowing other people were inspired by that would be a good feeling.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, no. And the other thing I think that I really enjoyed while I was researching you was the fact that you are so open about who you are and how you've combined your artwork and the adult world, because listen, there's obviously an audience for that stuff, right? I mean, and for everybody to say, oh, I don't watch that stuff. I mean, come on. We all do. I'm human. I've admitted many times on this show, I mean, we all watch porn. We all masturbate, you know what I mean? I'm sorry. I take that back. There are definitely different levels of people's sexuality and how sexual they are, right? Some people need a lot of sexuality in their life, and some people are like, I could do without it. You know what I mean? I think I'm maybe a little bit more above average of liking sexuality.
And sometimes they just watch the adult entertainment for entertainment.
Right. That's true.
And just admire the artwork and everything. Because sometimes I'd be like, this is actually good.
I feel that way too. I think that was the thing that always attracted me to hentai, or that would be like anime porn. Basically, it's all animated, but there's always like a story to it as well. And so it's like, okay, this is hot, and I'm kind of mentally stimulated too, so that's good. I'm having this story, and I mean, yeah, there might be porn every 5 minutes, but I'm here for it. I'm fine with this. And so, I guess maybe that's part of my inspiration too. With the work girl, like, well, there's porn in it, but
right. Well, and that also, again, so this all comes again full circle, because you were saying earlier about how you were like, well, what if I take orcs and show them in this different light? Like, I don't think, watching Lord of the Rings and anything that has orcs in it, I ever thought of an orc as a sexual being, you know what I mean? But when I started researching you and I saw Urkel, I'm like, well, orcs probably have like massive orgies around big fires and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, they're kind of like that Viking. They've got that a lot of testosterone, right? So
Yeah.
let me know if I'm breaking up. I've been having some problems. Is my audio and video okay?
You've been good
It's fine
so
now.
far.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because it's been acting strange, and sometimes I don't know. So I forgot to mention that at the beginning. Like, tell me, because then I'll just restart. So I know that I've been monopolizing all of your time. I do want to
Oh,
definitely
no.
get a little bit more into how you went over to your adult stuff and when you started and all of that stuff. But I can't let Courtney wait. Courtney's always got her book full of questions.
I
Oh,
know for the first time, last time, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to wing it. I'm like, I made a bad decision.
She likes the book.
Yeah, I'm like, got to go back to the book. Okay, Miss Amy, first
all
question.
right. All right.
What is strange and wonderful about yourself?
Well, the fact that, a girl who had worked in retail for 10 years somehow managed to make a living for herself doing porn and comics, and not even like normal, like everyday vanilla porn, like weird porn. Like I do, the orc thing is just like one little snippet of all the weird videos I make. But, 8 years later, I've honestly, as of this October, I will have worked in adult as long as I worked in retail. And
Wow.
that just occurred to me.
Wow.
And
That's
how
awesome.
long would that be? How long have you been working in the industry?
Let's see, it's since about 8 years now. And I worked in retail for about 8 years too.
Wow.
So,
And that's how you make your living. Basically, that's your job.
Yep, this is I do phone sex. I make videos. I shoot content for other stores. And I trade with other models, and then I also do I do custom videos, and I also have like a Patreon, and I sell the comic conventions, things like that.
Right. I did see on your links. Let me see if I had this right. I saw you. I guess this website Pep. Tell me what that's all about, because that also reminded me of old school, like phone sex and like old school just life.
Oh, well, yeah, that's basically peplove.com is a phone sex site. We also offer texting, email exchanges, webcam, things like that. And I will say we are a very, I would describe us as a boutique phone sex company, because there's only about usually about 10 to 12 of us at any given time. And we specialize in kink, fetish, BDSM. Most of the ladies there that you'll talk to are lifestyle as well as professionals in the industry. And we have a very individualized approach, I think, to it, versus like most phone sex sites. When you call, you kind of get like a automated, you press 1 to talk to, press 3 to talk to. When you call us, you talk to one of the ladies immediately. So whichever number you pick, that's the lady you're going to talk to. And as a result, though, we actually are much more flexible in what we can offer on the site.
Gotcha. Oh, my friend Kimberly's here. She says hello. Hey, Kim.
Hello, Kimberly.
And Chris Holmes says, Orc Girl comic had as much walking in the first 2 chapters as Lord of the Rings.
The first 2 chapters, there was a lot of walking. there was a lot of exposition to get through.
I got you. You're telling a lot. You're going through the story. You're building up the storyline through the dialogue, I guess, of walking through the land.
Right.
To the land of the orcs.
Oh, that's awesome. Cool. Okay, so I lost my train of thought. Oh, I was talking about pet love. It reminded me of old school. Yeah. So it's great. I mean, again, I feel like the adult industry or adult work has actually become a little bit more respected in recently. It's not people are taking accountability, like, oh yeah, adult work. Well, I don't do it, but I certainly view it.
Enjoy it.
I don't do it, but I view it. There you
I
go.
agree.
There's a T-shirt for the adult worker.
Right.
So okay, so go ahead, Courtney. Continue on.
Okay, what made you to Amy? What made you attracted to monsters like orcs and Bigfoot?
Hmm. Well, let's see. I've always liked the tragic kind of monster figure, uh, the grotesque
Mhm.
trope that we would see throughout media ever since I was about 6 years old and Disney's Beauty and the Beast came out.
Mhm.
I'd always been attracted to monsters. I remember walking out of the theater and my parents asked me, like, so what'd you think of the movie? And I said, well, I liked it, but I think the beast should have stayed a beast. And they were like, wait, what? What?
Same.
Big and scary
Yes.
monster. I'm like,
Yes.
I know, that was the best part,
Right.
And my
Right.
parents just did not know what to think. They just like, okay, whatever. But that was like, I don't know, I imprinted at that moment or something. And it kind of stuck
Wow.
with me. I always had a soft spot for the grotesque, the monster,
Right.
and I remember probably just as poignantly again being about 11 and seeing Disney's Hunchback of Notre Dame. And I was in love with Quasimodo. Like, he was sweet and gentle.
Oh,
And I liked that. I think I was kind of a sheltered kid, a really sheltered kid, actually. And I was not a popular kid. I did not have a whole lot of friends. So I think I kind of related to Quasimodo. And perhaps I related to a lot of other monsters as a result. They were often misunderstood by society, kind of shunned. I guess I identified with that in some way. Orcs in particular, the thing I always liked about, they're always the bad guy. Like, no matter what they do, they're always the bad guy. And sometimes, like, okay, they kind of deserve it. But what if there was a nuance to them? I always was like, behind every monster, there's a reason. And that's kind of what attracted me to them and attracted me to creating Orc Girl, because I wanted to create a story with a nuanced idea of good and evil. And as far as like Sasquatch, it's funny. That all kind of started as a joke. Because I started talking to people online about how I liked monsters. And I'm like, why not Bigfoot? And everybody's like, oh, that's great. And I go, why not Bigfoot? And so then it kind of became a thing. I actually have a character I've done in a couple of videos that I refer to as the Bigfoot girl. And I wear like, I have this little like fur bikini that I wear. I made it myself. I have little fangs and stuff, and it's
Nice.
usually like just silly videos that I'll make called. I'll get into that in a little bit later, but getting back into why I like that, I guess it's for the same reasons I like all monsters. That idea that there's something more to them than what we see, and I appreciated that character that was the underdog. I always, in every monster movie, I always wanted the monster to get the girl at the end. I was just like,
Right.
I was always hoping at Phantom of the Opera, if I watched it this time, maybe it would be different. I felt kind of bad for Dracula. I kind of was like, well, he kind of, he's offering her eternal life and beauty. Who can do that besides insurance companies? So like, it was like, I always, at the end of it, I always really wanted the monster to get the girl. And so I decided as an adult that I was going to make that happen.
So, and you did. Ryan is saying, I remember Amy saying that you wanted the Beast in Beauty and the Beast to stay.
Same.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Ryan.
Yeah.
So many people agree with me on that. And I'm like, see, I'm not alone.
Yeah, absolutely. I can totally understand. And they do portray a little bit of a soft side of these characters in those movies. So that I think for that reason, to make it appeal to people. So I mean, I guess for me, I'm curious because I mean, again, I'm human and sexuality is just appealing in general. But what brought the sexuality into this? Like what, you know what I mean? Like what made?
You're waking up, Michael.
Oh, I am.
I could hear you. Okay.
Yeah, you're waking up.
Okay. Well, you can go ahead and answer. I'll reset if I need to.
Oh, okay. So where the sexuality got involved? I think it's because there's a certain romanticism to all of these stories. There's often the monster is the victim of an unrequited love. And I guess where that ties into sexuality is because I always would kind of imagine these alternate stories of, well, what if the monster did get the girl? And and there is something undeniably sexual about the figure of the monster. It's not overtly so, but a monster is not bound by the same social cues and demands that people are.
Mm-hmm.
And people in our society, we are ultimately in our own ways kind of repressed. And I feel like a monster doesn't really have to follow those same rules. The world has already labeled them a monster. They can kind of do whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
And what is the monster really but sexual deviancy romanticized?
Interesting. True. No, I guess I do kind of get it. You know what I mean? And it's always, I guess, like I said, even with the clown and stuff, it's always called a fetish, but when you watch it, there's still human sexuality to it. You know what I mean? And and I guess everybody kind of does it different, but again, it's kind of new to me, and it's just interesting and to see the diversity. I mean, I'm imagining, I haven't seen it, but there's probably zombie fetish, or people, like, are like decaying corpses, but they're like getting turned on by it somehow, which is good. Hey, more power to you. You know what I mean? I believe, if,
I did do a transformation video once where I turned into a zombie. It was with me and a couple other models, including Miss Quinn, and it was kind of funny because like the makeup was very simple. It's just like we like run into the room and we're like, oh god, we got the doors all bolted down. Surely the zombies won't get us. And then one of us, i.e. me, starts acting, oh guys, I'm feeling kind of funny. And then I like look up and then like, I've got like bags under my eyes and everything. And then one by one, all the rest of them turn into zombies. And by the end of it, we kind of creep towards the camera and act like we're devouring whoever's watching.
Right.
It was real funny and silly because like, we had to kind of drag it out to make a full video. So like as a zombie, I'm just kind of sitting here, for like, instead of actually attacking until like, okay, we've killed about 2 minutes. We can, move to the next part of the video. We got to get at least 7 minutes out of this. So it was so ridiculous. I loved it, but it's all.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love ridiculousness. That's a good part of life.
Same.
So what do you got next, Courtney? Go ahead.
Okay. To Amy, when did you discover you were into monsters, like fantasy wise?
Like in a sexual way or just in general?
Sexual way or either way. Probably sexual ways, but fantasy wise.
Mm-hmm. Well, because like, I think once again, when I was, 6, I discovered, Beauty and the Beast, and I liked the Beast and I thought he was hot. And so, but I didn't quite know how to interpret that yet. I don't think it was until I was about like in like middle school or high school that I kind of decided, I'm like, the monster is kind of hot. And I could quantify those feelings into something more tangible. And especially as I got older and I got into kink and I started thinking about, well, I make a lot of kinks for other people. I make a lot of their fetishes come true. How do I make my fetish come true? And then I really started to think about it in a more, and really analyze it. And so I guess it's something that's kind of evolved over the course of my life. If that answers your question.
I can understand. Yeah. I can relate to that because I used to be not into like scary monsters and not wanting, because one, Jeepers Creepers, that monster's scary, but some reason I'm like, I want you. Hi, come here.
It's funny how it manifests in adulthood and you're like, okay, this is why I liked it so much. I didn't know then, but
so I'm actually curious because I guess you would think that people who are into adult work and do adult entertainment kind of don't necessarily like nobody knows, like when you're out shopping that's what you do.
Mhm.
right? I mean, it's like you're just another person. You're not, obviously, unless you're shopping in your orc makeup, which, you know, I
They're
don't
like,
know.
oh, a cosplayer.
Oh yeah, that'd make a great video. And
But I'm kind of curious about like what your personal life is like, as far as like the people that know you and know that you are, that you do adult porn, adult entertainment. Like, did they treat you differently, or I mean, are you openly sexual with them? You know what I mean? Or is it like you have a vanilla kind of life with a partner, or I don't know, just what is it like being you?
well, there's a couple of different layers of this. Just kind of interacting with my general community. Most, going to the store, going to the gym. Most of those people don't really know what I do, and I don't expand. I just say, oh, I make comics and I model, which isn't wrong. It's just not the full
Mhm.
story, and nobody really needs the full story. Most of my family knows what I do. I'm pretty open with them about it these days. My partner knows what I do. Most of my friends, and I will say probably the majority of my friends are, if not in the adult industry these days, they're at least affiliated with the adult industry in some way, or
Mhm.
they are in the kink, they like the lifestyle kink community, in which case they still understand.
Mhm.
And for my friends that I knew in my life before working in porn, most of them know by now. I think
Mhm.
some of them probably found some of my videos. so, uh, but I'm fine with that. But most of them know what I do. And I mean, for most of them, it wasn't a big deal. They were the first question for the people who, knew me before this. Their question was like, is this what you want to do? I'm like,
Mhm.
yes, yes, yes. I'm not being trafficked.
Mhm.
This
Mhm.
is what I want to do. I made up my mind
Right.
to do this. Is
Right.
this is my thing now. And once they kind of knew that I was happy and safe and doing this in a healthy way, they were supportive of me. I've not
Right.
really had, fortunately, too many negative reactions, especially from old friends. It might have been like awkward for like, because at first they're like asking a bunch of questions like, well, what do you do? How do you, like, where do you go every day? Like, and I'm like, my room, you know what I mean? It's like, I just kind of work out of my house,
Right.
and
Right.
so, but, I understand it's like, it's not like going into an office 9 to 5 every day.
Right. Right.
So,
Right.
but I will say it's kind of funny. During COVID, when everybody was working from home, it did get a lot easier to explain. I work from home. Everybody's like, oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Me
Like, oh,
too.
yeah. I didn't have to elaborate like at
Right.
all.
Right.
But
Right.
now
Right.
that it's over, they're like, oh, so what is it? I'm like, you always have to kind of judge. Not that I'm not embarrassed about what I do. I'm not the least bit shy about it.
Right.
On the other hand, I don't always know who I'm talking to.
Right.
Like, is this someone who is, it might just be like they might be a little uncomfortable, and I don't want to make other people uncomfortable. Or
Right.
is this someone that might have ill intent and you don't really know that? So
Mm.
you have to kind of exercise a little bit of discretion. And that's something that has taken me a long time to get used to about this industry, is
Mhm.
that I don't really like lying about what I do. On the other hand, I don't want to either A, make someone uncomfortable or jeopardize my safety.
Right.
So that's something you kind of deal with. And I can't think of really any other industry where that's the same thing. It's kind of like being a
Right.
superhero and you can't tell people your secret identity.
Right. 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 Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure people make a lot of assumptions about who you are and what you're like,
Mhm,
because of what you do, and because I do know a few people who are in adult industry. Everybody's so different, you know what I mean? Some
mhm,
people are very, very open about their sexuality in public
mhm,
with other people. Some people are very private about it,
mhm,
so I guess that's why I was curious, as to how it's affected
mhm,
you. um you know so I'm just always curious, because I feel like, for me, and again, I know that everybody's different and some people have less interest in sexuality, but for me it's
mhm.
like, doesn't everybody want to do adult work? Like, wouldn't everybody be happy just like actually getting paid to just be human and express themselves sexually? I
Mhm.
mean, it's like, it seems like a no-brainer, but there, I guess, again, there's so many stigmas attached
Right.
to it, and
Hmm.
The stigma.
you've really got to navigate that,
Mhm,
um, all the time. I'm imagining,
mhm.
so.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah. there's a huge stigma with when it comes to that kind of work and everything. Because I know a couple people that actually work in the industry, as Miss Quinn and Ami Mercury and Brittany. She's another one.
Mm. And it's and it's funny. I think the world is becoming a little bit more relaxed about it, because I've known people who were in the industry and then like left the industry to do something else, and they were really worried when their boss found out about their previous work, and the boss is like,
Okay.
Whatever. Right. It's right. Usually you're more worried than what people actually think. Yeah. I thought it was really
like, get the fuck back to work,
Right. Do you know who Danorama is? We had him on the show.
Yes, I've met him a few times. He's cool.
Yeah. I loved researching Danorama because I came across all of his music videos and stuff first.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, whoa, this guy, this is cool. This is like, this is a band I was really impressed by his work, like his video work and his music work. And then I came across his adult work and I was like, whoa. And then it was just really great to see somebody who can be so many things and do, pursue so many of their own authenticities, like just really be their true self, and be successful with it. So,
and I wish more people were like that and more open minded, not so prude. And they always like, they always like to bring in religion and stuff. Oh, think of the children. I'm like, as long as you keep it, as long as you a parent, you'll be fine.
Yeah, Amy's not peddling her stuff to your children, so
no.
He's like, look, aside from the fact that it's morally reprehensible, there's a very cold capitalistic reason why, I'm not interested in peddling to anybody's kids. Your kids don't have any money, okay? Come on.
They don't.
Let's just be honest, all right? Like, we're not interested. Like, this is a business.
They'd be stealing the parents' credit card just to buy your content.
Like, we're not interested in, peddling to your kids for like a multitude of reasons. And one of them is just like, dude, come on, this is a business. We're trying to sell it to people who, want to buy it, who can buy it,
Amy's demographic is rich guys who used to play D&D.
Exactly. Or just horny fangirls that want some horny monster fetish porn.
Horny fangirls too. Yeah, I'm sure that's great. No, but you know what?
I didn't mean it like that, but still.
I'm sure that you've been recognized. Have you been recognized in public, like by somebody who knows your adult work?
A couple of times. Once it happened fairly early on. I was still living in New Jersey at the time, and I went to a restaurant literally like 5 minutes from my house. And like later on that night, I got a message from someone saying, "Hey, did you go to such and such restaurant last night?" And I'm like,
"Uh-oh."
Yeah. And he's like, "Well, I work there." And I'm like, "Oh God."
No.
But he was real chill about it. He goes, "Look, I didn't come up and say anything because I didn't want to freak you out." I'm like, "Well, that was a good call." You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I'm not going to tell you who I was because I don't want to freak you out or anything. So, but it was just kind of neat that I saw you there. I'm like, "Oh, okay." So it was fine.
Right. But you never went back there again.
Well, I did, because I'm like, what's he going to do? If he's not going to come up and do it. Yeah. It's like the food was good. Admittedly, he's like, I'm not gonna stay away forever. I just kind of avoided it for a little while. So maybe he no longer works here. So really I want to say there was another time where that happened, where someone recognized me, but that's the one moment that really sticks out in my mind because it was the first time that it ever happened.
Right. Cool. Awesome. You got any other questions going up, Courtney?
Yes, I do. I got like 2 pages.
2 pages of questions.
All right. Bring them on.
Okay. Well, one of them already been answered. Okay. Do you like other monsters as well?
Oh, yeah. I like werewolves. I like, let's see. Oh, now I'm drawing a blank. Of course, we talked about Bigfoot. That's one of mine. I think centaurs are kind of cool. Minotaurs. I've had a thing for that. I've even seen a couple of alien romances that I thought were really hot. Anything sort of like kind of anthropomorphic, kind of beast-like creature, I'm totally into that. Honestly, like, if you put a monster romance of like almost any creature in front of me, I'd probably find it. Even if it's not like, my main thing, I'd probably still appreciate it. Right. I read like a troll romance once. That was interesting. It was part of a series that an artist or a writer I know of, S.J. Sanders. She's does a lot of really great like romance novels that are all kind of monster themed, and they're
Cool.
really cool. I read one once by her that had a really unique monster. And I want to say it was kind of based on like a Native American Wendigo. But it was sort of this like kind of forest spirit, and I'd never seen anything quite like that in a story represented before, and that was really cool. I'm trying to remember what it was called. I think it was called Lantern. But it was interesting and it was kind of Halloween themed too. So anything with a Halloween theme is immediately going to endear me a little bit. So yeah,
Totally.
I think in general, just almost any monsters. Orcs, of course, are my favorite, followed quickly by Bigfoots or like the Beast from Beauty and the Beast. But in general, I kind of love them all.
Okay.
Cool.
And
Are you?
what
Are
do
you?
you?
Oh, sorry. I was just curious. Are you? Do you feel like? And I'm just responding as I'm thinking of things that you're saying. But I feel like there's a lot more interest in this kind of thing now.
Mm-hmm.
And is that? Do you feel like it's a good thing, or do you feel like it's becoming saturated, like just kind of like being odd and like liking things that are not normal, like society would consider odd?
Well, though, I mean, I don't feel like it's becoming saturated. I think there's just more. I appreciate that there's more out there, because that's going to mean there's more people pulled into it. Because I do think that the whole, like, a lot of people who are into the monster fetish like kind of all monsters, but then for some it's very individualistic. They only like one type of monster or one type of story. But I think the more people that we have in it, the better. That makes the audience bigger. And I don't think that it's the audience is going to choose one book over another. I think they're just going to be like, look, 2 books. And
right.
So, because I think that they're kind of hungry for the content, because we've not seen it really before. This is kind of a new territory. Like, I was trying to think of like too many like monster romance TV shows or movies, and there's not really a lot. Even when there is, it's usually like a tragedy. The monster doesn't get the girl, and it's some story about you can't always get what you want kind of situation. But like romance stories where there's a happily ever after for the monster and the main character, that's kind of new. Like there's The Shape of Water. Can you think of any other like? Yeah. Can we think of any other romance where the monster gets the girl and he actually stays a monster? Because like I love Beauty and the Beast, but that was the only problem I had with it.
Right.
I mean, does Shrek count? I mean, because she turned into a monster too. I don't know. I mean, I guess. But that's such a new thing. And I think that people, the audiences that like that content are so hungry for it that they're just going to scoop everything up.
Right. Interesting. And it's almost like the antithesis of of society and like the Vogue magazine and like the ideas of beauty. You know what I mean? It's almost like people, I guess it's like, oh well, you know what, I don't relate to that, so people kind of start to move towards Beauty and the Beast and that kind of a thing. I just wanted to share this. Chris said Wendigo Smut is the Food Network. And so I just looked that up because you were talking about American Indian.
And if you don't know what a Wendigo is, it's a
I
Native
just
American.
Yeah, the way she described it wasn't quite as gross as that. But it was a little bit more aesthetically interesting, but not gross. It was interesting in the story. But yeah, I do think that's interesting that in the past, like I would say probably 5 to 6 years, you've seen this boom in monster romance content. But I mean, it sticks just to indie content primarily.
Yeah, I have noticed that a lot too, because Bailey's maybe a slim chance of it going mainstream. Okay, I know with 50 Shades of Grey, that brought BDSM to the mainstream. Even though it's not a good representation of BDSM, in my opinion, it's like, yeah.
it did at least get people talking. And
Yeah,
so
got
for
people.
that, I can appreciate it, you know.
Right.
It's kind of like why, you know, like Twilight, for all we may judge it, it did at least get the vampire storyline kind of normalized. Like, I remember I was into vampires like circa 1996, 97. And like, you know, this is Kentucky in the 90s. You remember the Satanic Panic of the 80s?
Oh yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
everything
Well, that
happened.
was before my time, but I do remember it. But
Well, it was still alive and well in Kentucky in the 90s. So people like freaked out. I'm like, you know, 13 and I'm reading a vampire novel. I'm like, dude, it's like, it's written for kids. Like, it's, I can't remember what it was, like a R.L. Stein, like
Right.
yeah.
vampire book. It wasn't even a romance yet, you know, that it was just where a kid gets turned into a vampire. And I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. And I got into vampires and people like freaked out. Now, like, I see like, you know, 40-year-old housewives reading romance, not like vampire romances. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
finally.
They're just catching up. You were ahead of your time.
oh, yes. So, yeah. And I'm not trying to like throw shade or anything.
Whoop.
I just think it's really funny, you know, that I'm like, you know, it was such a big deal back then and how much the societal attitude about these things has changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Definitely.
I remember when I was started getting into the goth style and stuff, and mom's like, "You better not go do that white face paint stuff and going all black because I don't want you to be in the devil and stuff." Instead,
Yeah.
she ended up with a clown.
It's like, I kind of took this in a different direction, Ma.
That's so funny.
But yeah, I still dress all in black sometimes, but I like colors too.
Yeah.
No,
It's really funny.
Yeah, I just love how again that's what this channel is about, just like people being able to express themselves and being openly accepted and loved unconditionally, no matter what they do and no matter what society thinks of them.
Exactly.
But yeah, you are certainly a pleasure to talk to, and
Thank you.
very articulate about what you do, and I did want to get into some more of the adult stuff, but we've already been going for about an hour.
Well, I can keep
I
going
do
if you
got a
guys got.
couple more questions.
You do got some more questions. All right, let's
Yes.
let Courtney get through some of her questions for you.
Okay. Okay. What do your friends and family think of you and your career and the fetish for monsters?
Let's see. Like my mom, you know, I'm really lucky that I've got a very supportive mom. She's always, you know, like, you know, when she found out, and like she kind of found out through like a friend, and she wasn't mad at me. You know, she thought about it for a little bit, and she's like, you know what, you're working hard. You know, you're working hard, and I'm proud of you. And I'm like, yeah, like, thanks, Mom. And
That's
I talk
awesome.
to her a lot. She supports Orc Girl. You know, I don't know if she quite really understands my interest in Orc Girl, but
Right.
but she supports it. Like, you know, if I post something, like, because I'll like post it to my private Facebook, and she'll click like on it and ask me about it and things. So,
Right.
you know, my brother knows, he doesn't want the details, understandably. So, you know, and so, you know, I don't, you know, but he's accepting. I think, you know, the main concern with most of my friends and family who are outside of the industry is that, you know, they're like, we just want you to be safe and happy. And it's like, if you were both of those things, we're here for you. So I've been very fortunate, because a lot of adult performers haven't had that kind of support.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got to be a tough industry to work in, but I think, like you're saying, with supportive friends and family, you know, it can be a really positive experience, you know, and lucrative for a lot of people.
You got to have that support system. Absolutely. You know, you won't, you know, make
Exactly.
it. And it's really sad. I see so many people that, you know, don't have that. And, you know, I always hate this kind of question because it's so loaded. They're like, what if you have, like, you know, they'll ask like, I'll see this question in interviews with other adult performers. People ask, well, what if your kid ever when they grow up, decides to go in porn? I'm like, come on, how do you answer that? You know, and they just say, well, you know, I'm going to be honest with them about what it's actually like, but, you know, I'm going to be supportive because, you know, what's the alternative? You know,
Right.
You know, so,
Totally.
you know, I'm like I said, I'm very fortunate though that I have a family that's cool and supportive.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Do you want to have kids?
You know, I would like to, although I'm kind of running a little bit out of time. I'm 37, but you know, we'll see.
Just curious. Yeah, cool.
Okay.
So,
What do you do to the people that doesn't understand your lifestyles and the monster fantasies in your comics?
let's see. The best way to handle them I found is just to ignore them.
Pretty much.
Um, you know, and most of the, like, I will say pretty much any like negativity I've gotten has been fortunately just limited to the online realm. I've not really gotten a lot of negativity in person where I've had to deal with that kind of situation. But I found online that the majority of the people who are trying to be negative are just wanting your attention. That is really what they want. They don't really, they probably don't really care that you're in porn. They probably don't really care that you like monsters or your comics. They just want attention. And
It's like, please love me.
yeah, so if you're mean to them right back, then they're still getting it,
Yeah.
and like, because you got to remember that almost every comment that, haters are writing to people, who are in porn, they're probably doing one-handedly.
Yeah.
So you kind of got, if you approach that every comment that's negative like that is probably done with that intent behind it.
Right.
You kind of got to be like, well, if I just give you what you want, then, for free, how does that help me?
Right.
So,
Right.
I mean, that's
Exactly.
perhaps like a little peek behind the curtain there, but I found that largely a lot of the people that are negative towards, people, like, I mean, it'd be one thing if I was out there saying mean things on the internet, which I don't, I'm
Right.
pretty, agreeable. And if someone were trying to argue with me something like that, that's different. But, if I'm just posting a picture of myself and someone's like, you suck, I'd be like, you first. I mean, I'd be like, but no, just don't engage. Just don't engage.
Yeah, no, I think that's always the best answer. I love that. And that's really what you got to do. It's your ego that makes some people want to engage and respond, but it's like, why even bother give it energy? It doesn't deserve any energy.
Right. And don't get me wrong, I have fallen prey to it, and I'm just like, man, why did I talk to this jerk?
Right.
That's all he wanted. Like, I was just sitting here minding my own business today, eating a sandwich, and here he comes on my Twitter, and
Yeah.
I was like, I should have just ignored it, and now I'm having a bad day, when I could have just been like, scroll.
Right.
That's the best way to
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I win because you added to my algorithm. You commented and you made my, so you would just win, right?
Like, even if your comment was awful and barely English,
Right.
like, because you can't, because you're not putting 100% effort into typing right now, it still boasts my it still boosts the algorithm there and puts me up a little bit further.
Exactly.
Okay. Who was your very first monster crush?
Let's see, I want to say the Beast, but I was too young. I didn't really understand. Probably, if he counts, I would say Quasimodo.
Sure.
Yeah, that was, I mean, he's not really a monster. Yeah, but it's like I since he's often like in the Universal like monsters kind of, Quasimodo is often included in that.
Yeah.
I guess, but I include him because he falls into the trope of the grotesque.
Yeah.
That tragic monster figure.
Misunderstood. Yeah.
So, not because, so I don't include him as a monster just because of necessarily how he looks, but so much his story is why.
Cool. I mean, I can see it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How did you become great friends with Miss Quinn?
We met at an event. I'd reached out to her. There's an event that happens here in Florida once every summer called Fetish Con. And I will say this is a singularly unique event because it's both a industry, like fetish industry event and lifestyle event kind of in one. And so fetish models from all over the country, we kind of like gather at this event once every year, and lifestyle people are there, producers are there, and it's great. It's a fun event. There's vendors, there's classes, there's a dungeon in the evening, and a pool party every night. Ooh. So what happens is all these fetish models and producers get together. We shoot a bunch of content all day. Then at night, go party by the pool. And you don't necessarily have to be industry to get in. Like I said, lifestyle people can get in too. And like press can get in as well. And I was going to the event and I was looking for other models that I could work with, because part of the business model of a lot of indie fetish models, for a little bit of context, is that we'll shoot what we call trade. And that is like, we'll get together with another model and I'll shoot videos that she can put in her store, and she'll shoot videos with me that we can put in my store. And we each have our own like little clip stores, like on Clips for Sale, mini vids, sites like that.
Right.
And I was going to this event and I was looking for models that were available to work with. And I'd seen Quinn's work and the clown content. A little bit of information about me. I'd actually done clowning in the past in a professional sense. And so I knew a little bit about like the makeup and balloon animals and stuff like that. And I reached out to her. I said, hey, I see you're going to be at Fetish Con. Would you like to shoot some trade content together? And when I was there, I talked to her about clowning, and I ended up like after the con going over to her place, and we shot like clown content as well. And from there, we just always kept in contact. I was still living in New Jersey at the time, and eventually moved down to Florida. And so we've just always kept in contact, and we work together. We hang out a lot, and yeah, we've always been close since. So.
Cool.
That's
I'm
so
going to,
sweet.
you know what? I meant to put this up the whole time, and I always forget to do this.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. For anybody who wants
to unplug it.
Thank you very
if you literally want to see more of Ami Mercury, you could find as much of her as you want to see there.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
I got 2 questions left.
All right.
Okay. How did you came up with the name Ami Mercury?
You know, I actually, it's not terribly deep. I feel kind of sad about this, or kind of silly about it, but I based it off of my favorite Sailor Moon character. I always liked Sailor Mercury. When I was growing up, she was the one that I identified with. You know, she was kind of the smart one and the brainy one, and I was always studying a lot in high school. And each of my friends, they had their own Sailor Scout from the show Sailor Moon. She was the one I identified with, and her name, like when she's, you know, kind of like her old, you know, her secret identity is Amy, spelled with an I, or I think they pronounce it Ami in, you know, Japanese, but Amy, you know, it is more familiar. So I just kind of made it Ami Mercury, and put it together, and it kind of stuck.
That works. There's nothing to be ashamed of there. It doesn't have to always be so deep. Yeah. But, you know, it's personal to you, you know, because it's your favorite character.
Okay. The last question I ask every guest at the end of the show. If you could go back in time to see your kids' self, if you can go back in time to your kids' self, what will you tell them and why?
Well, I tell them that this crap isn't going to last forever. You know, you're maybe sitting here at a table all by yourself at lunch because you have no friends. But one day you'll be in an event crowded by people who want to talk to you and want to hang out with you. And, you know, there's people out there that will reach out just to work with you, that'll rush up to you, be like, I saw your video. And there's always going to be people laughing, but they don't matter. You know, but the people that are coming up to talk to you and want your time, that's the people you should focus on. So, you know, have a few years of being stuck at a table by yourself, because you're going to have many, many years ahead of you where that's not going to be the case.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
That is wonderful. Totally. Excellent.
So,
I did see, let me go back to the comments here. We had, I guess Chris Holm is one of your fans out there, because he says you are the bestest.
Thank you, Chris. That's really sweet. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And Chris, we appreciate you coming to the Strange and Wonderful and joining us. It was really great talking to you. I'm glad Courtney reached out and got you on the show. I hope you had some fun. And enjoyed the space that we created for you here. Do you have any words of advice, Courtney, before maybe you want to tell us who we got next week?
Well, next week we have this clown performer. She's an actual clown performer. She performs at Renaissance fairs, and she's a burlesque dancer. Her name is Pepsi Penwell. She's coming
Oh, right.
on next Wednesday.
Yeah, we were supposed to have her a while back, and she had some technical difficulties. So
Yes, she did.
good. She's coming on next Wednesday. Excellent. And do you have any words of advice for our audience?
If you think staying normal, no.
No.
Scratch that.
Just
Scratch
gotta
that.
think about it. Scratch that.
Keep the internet weird.
Being normal is overrated, but you just have to embrace who you truly are. But don't be scary weird. Okay, scary weird is not good.
Don't be scary weird. That's Courtney's advice to everybody. Don't be scary weird. Be weird, but don't be scary weird. And my advice is just love yourself, no matter what, no matter who you are. If you love yourself, you will be able to love everything else. You know what I mean? And you'll be able to wake up and be happy and love the world around you. Unless you love yourself, you won't be able to do that. So that's my advice. We'll have to have you back sometime, Amy.
Oh, thank you.
And again, thanks for coming, and thank you all for. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you for coming on
Amy's
the show.
link is at the bottom. You got 30 more seconds to write it down before I play the outro.
I'd like to say thank you to everybody who came to see me tonight too. I appreciate that, guys.
Yes,
and thank you for watching the show, y'all.
We'll see you guys next week. Peace
All right.
out.
Thank you guys. Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, Michael. You guys have a good one. Okay.
Welcome, and thank you.